I'm Oksana with the University of Northern Iowa at this point of time. And I included my email for you at the end. I will also, at the end of the presentation, I'll also include my email in the chat. So if there are any questions or if you ever need to get a hold of me, you're welcome to do so. It is nice to be here. It's an honor to be asked to meet with all of you. So thank you for taking the time today to join this. I thought I would start with a little bit about me. I am originally from Ukraine, the southwestern part of Ukraine, in that Dracula, Transylvania region, right there, right on the foothills of the mountains, which I don't get to see now where I am right now. It's very flat. I spent time in other countries. Specifically, I included the Netherlands here. Wageningen is in the middle photo. The reason I included that particular place, I stayed there for a couple of years doing graduate work. And the program that I went through was a joint effort between Wageningen University and the World Leisure. So the World Leisure International Center of Excellence used to be in the Netherlands a while ago. And then the third photo is where I am right now, Cedar Falls, Iowa. I know that doesn't ring a bell for any of you. So I put in a map with a star. It's just in the middle, the Midwestern region of the United States. We're going into the cold winter now. It's starting earlier this year than normally it would. We already had our first snow last week.
Sorry, Oksana, your presentation is still on the first slide.
Yep.
Still on the first slide?
Yes. Yep. So you need to show us the pictures again. Yeah.
All right, let's do it again. How about now?
Yeah, now we are, I think, in the third. Yeah, that was the first one.
This was the first.
Yeah, second, yeah.
Second. This is the third.
Yeah, correct.
I am
right on track.
So sorry. Okay. I think I see what you see, but I'm not quite sure that you see what I see. So good. So at this point of time, so my schooling is in fact in economics and management, as well as in leisure and environment. That was the program that I went through in the Netherlands, as well as a doctorate in leisure, youth, and human services. My research is mostly on tourism planning, community development. I do a lot of economic impact studies for communities, for events. To give you an example of what that would look like, for example, there is a large festival that's planned in the community. Very often, the community, the local authorities would like to know, what does it mean to the area in terms of direct injection of the money, in terms of additional sales, in terms of additional employment, and those sorts of things. So I do still use my economic background a lot. A lot of my research focuses on deliberative democracy, which is a way of engaging community and engaging local residents in planning and decision making. I believe that very deeply. I do believe that you cannot make decisions when it comes to recreation, when it comes to tourism, when it comes to leisure. You cannot have a top-down approach. You need to be working very closely with the local community on those decisions. And then recently, I did not include that on the list, but recently I've also started working with a colleague on determining capacity of outdoor ungated events. To give you an idea, anytime you think of an outdoor rally, march, festival, any event that does not have tickets involved or wristbands involved, it's very important for the organizers to know how many people you're talking about, but it's very difficult to estimate that. And of course, right now we're in the COVID world, so we are not having these large gatherings anymore. But I do hope that on the other end of all this, we will go back to having these conversations again. So that's a little bit about me. So Miklos asked me to talk about benefits to leisure, recreation, and tourism today. And I would like to start with a bit of a disclaimer that benefits is just one side of leisure and recreation. There are costs that are involved also. So you always have to look at a whole picture, at a complete picture, rather than just one side of it. While the benefits are amazing and we want to know what those are and we want to promote them and we want to make sure that they are there, there are also costs involved. So we talk about outcomes, and the outcomes can be positive and negative. It is not the part of the presentation today discussing the costs, but please know that there is always the other side of the picture, the other side of the story. So I included this, the NRPA, so the flyer that's on the left-hand side that says June is Recreation Parks Month. There are different large national, international organizations that focus so much on benefits. And so one example that I used, since I am based in the United States, the National Recreation and Park Association is a large national organization in the US that is tasked with promoting the benefits of recreation and parks to communities. So June is a month of recreation and parks, and I wanted to share with you the flyer that you see very frequently around campuses or around in different recreation centers in communities that outlines there's so much to recreation and parks. So what is listed on the flyer are really the benefits: mental and physical well-being, social well-being, connection with the land, economic benefits, strong families and communities, which is more of social benefits. I am not sure if different organizations around the world focus so much on the benefits, but this benefits framework, and I will share that framework with you in a little while, is very prevalent, dominant here in the United States, this focus on the benefits, on educating the communities and educating everyone really about what recreation and leisure and tourism mean or can mean if developed properly, how it can benefit the communities. So just wanted to share this with you. So what's a benefit? I always like to start with terms. Even in the classes that I teach, I always start with the basic concepts, definition, making sure that we are all on the same page, that when we talk about benefits, we actually talk about the same thing. So a benefit is something that's an improvement, right? It's an improvement in a condition, improvement in a situation, improvement of any nature or gain of any nature. It can be individual, it can be societal, it can be group-wise, it can be to community, it can be to an organization. So anytime there is an improvement, we do talk about benefits. So a change that's a positive change, right? A benefit, it implies that it's positive. A cost would imply that it's not always positive and might be a negative. The types of benefits that I would like to highlight today would be a personal, individual. So how can any of these, recreation, leisure, tourism, impact you, me, anyone, a person, a human being? Social, cultural, economic, and environmental. So number 2, 3, 4, and 5, for me, they're very dear and close to my heart because As someone who focuses on tourism and impacts of tourism, there are four main ones, really four main ones that are discussed and studied. And those are social, cultural, economic, and environmental. But you have to also include personal, right? What does it mean to an individual? So let's talk about what those are. If it's just individual personal benefits, recreation or tourism or leisure can impact your or my or anyone that you know, our health, our emotions. There are cognitive benefits as well as social development. So what are those? Health benefits, I think everybody knows what those are, right? Either recreation or fitness can help a person lead a full and meaningful life. Regular physical activity is wonderful on so many different levels. It's in fact referred to as a best health insurance method, right? If you want to live long and healthy life, physical activity needs to be a part of that, because that can lead to reduction in heart disease, obesity, diabetes, and the list can go on and on. So there are clear health benefits to recreation. And a really nice thing, if you can think of any positive that has come out of this pandemic of the COVID, I have noticed here in the US and this community, of course, in the summer, everything was closed. Right? There are very few activities or very few options available, but the nature is out there. It's summer and it's beautiful. So it was so refreshing and nice to see students and families out there walking, biking. We have a lot of trails in Cedar Falls. There were a lot of people running, jogging, riding their bicycles, walking their dogs, just walking with their families on the trail. So being outside. So if there's anything positive in my mind that has come out of the COVID is that all of a sudden everyone discovered that we have had so much of Zooms and computers that it's really nice and refreshing to be outside and to be engaged in that recreational activity that has a lot of benefits, including health benefits. Then, of course, there are emotional benefits. If you're stressed, if you're bored, if you're depressed, the benefit, the recreation, any activity, physical activity, or it doesn't have to be active. You don't have to be active physically. You can be doing puzzles. You can be reading. You can be listening to the music. It can relieve those symptoms of stress and help with stress management. Positive self-image and self-esteem are often linked to the emotional benefits, as meaningful leisure is really a part of that positive self-esteem and self-image. And of course, you can add on to this the different types of leisure and recreation that are out there. And for those of you who are familiar with the concept of serious leisure, that takes these benefits and elevates them further, much further for individuals. And also leisure provides that opportunity to lead a balanced life and to achieve life satisfaction. And life satisfaction and happiness are at the forefront right now of so many agencies. You see United Nations releasing reports on happiness. There are happiness institutes, happiness indices that rank communities, rank countries, and try to determine what is out there, what makes a person happy, what makes a country happy. And of course, leisure is always ranked very, very high on those scales. Then there are cognitive benefits. Intellectual development, mental performance. For kids, especially when you talk about the kids, play is a way to explore the world, explore the environment, develop problem solving. And then you can add to this puzzles, quizzes, other ways for kids to develop powers of observation, analysis, decision-making, right? So it can be active, but it doesn't have to be active. And then social development. Again, going back to the children, And I saw that I noticed that one of the previous presentations was on play in children by Winnie Wong, who actually is a dear friend of mine. And I know that Winnie would agree that children's play is paramount to a human development process. If you think about any games, sports, clubs, parties, any personal involvement with the others creates in those shared experiences allows children, teenagers, but also adults to become more well-rounded, resilient social individuals, right? That's how you learn that the others' need, the community needs should be placed above yours. That's how you learn good sportsmanship. That's how you learn to work towards common goals. And as well, you can take it further to the community level. Any celebrations, holidays bring families together. You get a sense of pride in your community. There are a lot of conversations about the role of recreation and role of tourism in reducing prejudice and also attaining world peace. For a while, I have been fascinated and involved in a small capacity with the IIPT, which is an International Institute of Peace through Tourism that is headquartered in Switzerland. There's a lot of research out there that shows that the more you travel, the more that you see the world, explore the world, that meet others, you learn to appreciate the differences and not focus on those superstitions and prejudices, but you learn to understand, appreciate, and value the differences. And if we all engage in those activities, we will have more peace in the world. So that's a wonderful goal to attain. And it's great that the field that we are in, the recreation, leisure, and tourism, can actually contribute to that. So those would be some of your personal benefits. And we can go on and on with other examples. What I would like to do today is just to highlight what those are. Then social benefits, right? So what does it mean to a community? We can talk about community development. We can talk about economic benefits as well as environmental benefits. Recreation opportunities can help build strong community. Having things to do in a community is usually a very appealing factor for anybody who is looking to relocate, to move to another place. When you think about yourself, if you were moved to another place from where you're at right now, what would be the factors that you would consider? I can guarantee that having things to do outdoors is probably going to be one of them. So are there trails? Are there parks? Are there events in the community? Is there recreation facilities in the community? So all of that can be a part of it. Community recreation can promote that ethnic harmony and cultural harmony, bringing different groups in the community together, again, to focus on the sense of us as a community rather than us and them. Leisure provides opportunities for community involvement as well as shared governance and the use of resources, which is, to me, as someone who believes in involving residents in planning and decision-making, is a big part of it. You can coalesce the community around a shared resource, and tourism and recreation are a lot of times about resources, the use of resources, and build a sense of community around it. I talked about community pride. There is research out there. There are a lot of researchers who will argue that recreation and leisure can contribute to reduction of juvenile crime and deviance. So at the beginning of the presentation, when I mentioned that there are benefits and there are costs, sometimes deviance or deviant leisure behaviors are included in the costs. but it doesn't always have to be that way. You can use recreation to turn that around and provide opportunities for kids who might just not have anything else to do. Then, of course, you have economic and environmental benefits. Economic benefits, events, any special events encourage tourism and travel. Healthcare costs might be reduced. It's very diverse industry. Recreation, tourism, and leisure are very diverse industry with, you can think about it as big part of a puzzle where you need to fit pieces together to make it work. And also an industry where there are billions of dollars spent every year. Small investments in recreation and leisure can yield big returns. A fit workforce is a productive workforce. You can reduce healthcare costs that way. And then, of course, investing in environment will pay for itself. With the economic benefits, though, you always, as with anything, you always have to look at it in a broader sense and again as a whole picture. When you have visitors coming into the area and they spend money on transportation, accommodation, entertainment, programming, that money circulates in the area with a multiplier effect. And I believe most of you are probably familiar of that, where every dollar that's spent or any currency that you want to use, euro that's spent, will generate additional money. Usually those range between 1 and 2. So if you ever hear about multiplier of say 1.4, it means that for every dollar or euro that was spent, there was another 40 cents that was generated for the local economy. Increase in sales, increase in employment. But again, to look at the whole picture, you always want to look at what point of time does the money start leaking out of the area? Or when we talk about employment, are we talking about full-time, stable, well-paid jobs or seasonal part-time jobs? So again, looking at the pros and cons. And then environmental benefits. There are different angles to that. And typically when we talk about leisure and recreation, very often you hear about negatives. You hear about pollution, you hear about littering, you hear about trampling. So in the parks, visitors go off the trails, and there is hunting, and there are different thoughts on what that means, if that should or should not be encouraged. And of course, you can cross over into the area of poaching, and then there is decrease in the quality of the environment. So there are a lot of costs to that. But on the good side, on the positive side, unless you expose someone to the nature, how else will they learn to understand and appreciate it? You need to make sure that your residency visitors are educated. So educational part is critical to the environmental benefits. So whether you might consider interpretive programs, and interpretive, I don't mean with interpretive literally translating from one language to another, but explaining what it means. If you are in a national park, what does it mean? Why are those trees important? Why is it wildlife important? What is so important about it, and how do all of them fit into this one image? Parks and open spaces also bring beauty to an area, can beautify the area, can attract wildlife, can improve the quality of air, water, and soil. Because of the recreational benefits and because of the economic benefits that come with leisure and recreation, a lot of countries have turned to protecting wild land, river, stream, beachfronts, historic monuments, scenic areas, and wildlife. You can look at countries like Costa Rica, for example, that is one of the champions in the world when it comes to the nature protection, having a big part of the country protected from overuse, from resource extraction, recognizing that there are so many benefits in having those spaces open to the visitors. So that's in a nutshell about social benefits. Lastly, I would like to share with you this tool that has been used in the United States, in Canada. So in North America, it has been used a lot, but now I see it also being used around the world in other areas. The BBM, which was an outgrowth of the BAL. If any of you have heard about benefits approach to leisure, back in the 70s, there was a group of researchers that worked on it, and Bev Driver was one of those. He actually was a former professor of mine back in the Netherlands, that believed very deeply that the government and the authorities don't realize all the benefits that come with leisure and recreation. So they need to be educated about them. And how do you educate the governments or communities or authorities about the benefits? Well, you need to do research and provide data, right? Everybody wants data. So the way how they went about it, they surveyed visitors in national parks about what did they gain from visiting those areas. There were thousands of respondents, and from all of the responses, all of the benefits were grouped in categories. There were over 120 different benefits. And so from then on, the researchers were able to narrow down and group those benefits in environmental, those that we just discussed, social, economic benefits, community development benefits, each of them having a lot of different benefits underneath them as examples. And so from that on, the benefits-based management was born. And the idea of benefits-based management is that we can identify positive outputs of leisure, recreation, tourism, and highlight them in management plans to help provide for those benefits. So if we know that there are various health benefits, what programming can we design around health benefits? If we know that there are emotional benefits to leisure and recreation, what programming, what experiences can we offer to provide for those emotional benefits? How can we structure it? It's a two-step process. Number one, usually is identifying what those desired outcomes are. So if you want to specifically in your facility focus on just cognitive benefits or just emotional benefits or just social development, what are they? Are they short-term? Are they long-term? What do you define as a benefit? Is it an improved condition or is it a prevention of the worst condition? Then from then on, it's on to refining and validating them. And that is usually done in consultation with the users of the area. So bringing groups of users together in some sort of focus groups, conversation to refine, is this what we really should be doing? Is this what's important to this facility, to this community, to this organization, to this area? And then validating that way. And then step number two would be to develop specific actions and strategies to achieve those outcomes. And at the end of the process, there is of course evaluation component involved. You need to know what's working and what's not working. So this is really all that I have to share with you. The benefits are truly endless to recreation, to leisure, and to tourism, but there is a one caveat to that. And that caveat is that you have to plan for them and you have to develop them properly. If you do not develop them properly, then of course you're going to have more issues than you're going to have any positive outcomes. So there's that planning that needs to be involved.